Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Gridiron Gurus. My name is Luke, and joining with me is
Ryan Green.
and today we're doing our Week 3 predictions. I know the Week 2, I had a lot of technical difficulties editing it, and you had a lot of technical difficulties with your camera. When I was editing it, you were like not even there half the time. So I
Yeah.
don't even know if that one's going to be up or not because my thing was just not, the sound sounded terrible, and Brian's visuals didn't even work half the time. But we're back week 3. Your visuals looks fine now, so let's hope it stays that way. Um, we had a solid week 2. I mean, it wasn't like the greatest week of all time, but
It
it
was
was
an
okay.
upset heavy. It was an upset heavy
Yes,
week
very
two.
upset heavy.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be talking about one game from last week, kind of I guess like the most. It shouldn't be controversial game, but the most controversial game from last week
It's
was
always going to be controversial.
Chiefs, Bengals at Chiefs.
Yeah.
Obviously, they said they had that pass interference call at the end of the game. It was pass interference. It just was. I'm not a Chiefs guy. I'm a Texans guy. I don't like the Chiefs, but it was pass interference. So like, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what you like. Yeah, sometimes the Chiefs get calls
Yeah.
that don't totally happen. That wasn't one of them. That was a clear pass interference. He gets to him not like a millisecond early, where it's like, oh, okay, when you slow it down, you can see it. It was very clear, like in real life, that he got there well early. He just goes
Yeah.
for
The
through.
receiver had no option for the ball either. Like you can look at Rasheed Rice and he's like looks like he's crumpling. Like
Yeah, he gets
like
yeah.
that's yeah.
But other than that, the game it was good. I don't feel super confident in either of these teams right now.
Still early in the season though, but yeah.
Chiefs also just lost Isaiah
Pacheco.
Pacheco, broken leg, I think it was.
Yeah, it was like fibula, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he's out for the at least the regular season, was they're saying. Chiefs are not so like the Chiefs are losing that. Travis Kelsey has like 35 yards through the first 2 weeks. I mean, obviously he's going to end up somehow turning up in the playoffs and being like he's going to like go
I
off
expect him
in
to
the
go
playoffs.
off against the Chargers.
Yeah,
One of the Chargers games is going to have like 150.
but this is clearly his last year
Yeah.
in the NFL. This is very well his last. I think he would have retired last year had they not won, and he wouldn't have had the chance for the three-peat. Because
Hmm.
he wants that three-peat. And the Chiefs have a chance to do it. I mean, they have just about as good a chance as anybody has ever had to do
Their
it.
defense is still really good.
Defense is good. Hollywood Brown's out for the regular season. Now Pacheco's out for the regular season. But maybe those two come back by playoff time,
Hmm.
and they're healthy-ish, and that'll give them like a boost. But I don't know. The Chiefs look solid offensively. Only 286 yards of offense. It's not amazing. They had some turnover luck a little bit. The Bengals also just like their offense looks fine,
Hmm.
but no T Higgins again this week. Chase is yet to get going. I don't know, but the Bengals haven't looked that great to me. Their run defense is bad.
It's
Um,
really bad. I thought it was gonna be at least decent, but not having DJ Rader's been like them and the Colts have been a really bad run defense for sure.
yeah, Patrick Mahomes only had 100. I thought I saw a thing. Patrick Mahomes completed like 5 passes past the line of scrimmage
Yeah,
against the Bengals. Like I don't know. And this
I
Chiefs
think it's just
team,
something about Lou Anarumo. Like he always has like the Chiefs number, and they always keep it like a close game whenever they play. That's the only thing I can never think of is just like Lou Anarumo like just knows Mahomes or something because like I said, the Bengals always play them really really well. They just kind of they are the reason why they lost this game, not because of the refs. They are the ones that had the fumble for the touchdown. They're the ones that didn't convert. They didn't score that last drive. Like you can't put all the blame on just the refs. So
yeah. Um, but it was a good game. I don't feel super. Bengals obviously putting themselves in a hole, but luckily for them, the competition really in their division is also putting themselves in a hole, which
mhm.
we can get into. But I guess now we hit to week 3. We got a Thursday night game, really joyous Thursday night game.
I'm gonna love
Uh,
streaming it.
Patriots at Jets. Gosh, I'm gonna cry at MetLife Stadium. So prepare for
Somebody's gonna get hurt. Yeah.
there'll be 3 ACL tears. I'm sorry, Ramondre Stevenson and Brees Hall, you're done for the season.
Hey, we've got
Um,
Braylon Allen on the Jets.
yeah, and he'll be done the next time they play at MetLife Stadium, so that's fine. But I'm going to take the Jets. the Patriots look solid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they lost last week to the Seahawks in overtime, who I like the Seahawks. I think they're a very good team. But so they're not bad. The Jets obviously won this week against the Titans. That defense needs to improve a little bit, but I think this is kind of the team that you're going to be able to get right against. And so I think the Jets will win. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Jets pull it out.
Yeah, I think it'll be like a 4-point game. I think like the Patriots have to like try to drive down the field, but they're not that kind of offense, unfortunately. Like I said, I like we knew going in like your defense was going to be really good, but because they've been able to run the ball, Jacoby Brissett just kind of like managing the game. They've been decent. But I think the Jets defense is too good. I am interested to see how the Jets are going to respond. Especially the first game they got ran through. When against the Titans, it was really lucky for them that Will Levis made some very dumb decisions. We'll talk about that too, um, like going into the Titans games. But I think the Jets are going to be able to win this game. But I do agree. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be like I think it's going to be like a 20-16 kind of game. But yeah.
Yeah. Next we got Browns, Giants at Browns. 1 o'clock slate. What do you got?
Giants at Browns. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of the Giants. I think that they're not as bad as the Panthers, unfortunately. But I think the Browns defense is going to be able to just kind of carry them in the early season and kind of hope that at least Deshaun looks decent. That's the only thing you can hope for as a Browns fan. But I think the Browns are going to win this. I see Daniel Jones probably throwing like 2 picks, something like that. It's going to cost them the game. So yeah, I would do like a 9 points. Browns
I
win.
hate both of these teams. I don't hate the Giants. I hate the Browns.
Yeah.
I just think the Giants are really bad. But the Browns have a good enough defense. I think they'll get Daniel Jones into mistakes, just like you said. It'll. I don't think it'll be a super high scoring game. I think it might be a little close-ish. But I'm going to take the Browns because I think their defense is better and they might be able to run the ball better. Now we got Packers. Wait, is this right? Packers at yes, it is. I'm sorry, I was
Yes,
messed up.
Packers
The
Titans.
Colts.
Yeah.
The Colts played the Packers. I was like,
Yes.
wait, what? And I was like, Packers at Titans. Obviously the Packers won last week with Malik Willis at quarterback. Thing I did not expect. Now they didn't really ask him to do anything.
That's what I
They're
was
just
about to
like
say. Yeah.
they're running the ball. The problem with that is like the Titans actually have a good run defense.
We kind of knew also once Devondre Sweat went to the Titans, like him and Justin Simmons is going to be that's hard for anybody in the interior.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm interested to see how that's going to play out.
I'm worrying about the Packers offense if they're not going to be able to run the ball much. But at the same time, they have a really good defense, and Will Levis has made dumb mistakes in both weeks that have been costly, and I think he'll do it again. And I think he'll make a mistake that he shouldn't do it, and it's going to set the Packers up, and they'll win the game by like a field goal or something. And this will be low scoring because the Packers are just going to try and keep the time of possession high, so that they don't have like the defense can just kind of like rest and then come out and make plays. So I think the Packers are going to win, but I think it's going to be really close. So I think like a field goal or something.
I agree. Like I said, I think it's going to be a low scoring game, but because of the fact that the Packers defense is opportunistic, I think it's like 6 turnovers in the past 2 games. Like something that the Packers have almost never really had since like early 2010s. Like an opportunistic defense. I think that's going to push them forward. I agree. I think it's going to be like one of those games where because Will Levis throws interception, sets an easy field goal, they'll probably win on. They'll probably like the field goal kicker probably have like 3 field goals, something like that, and they'll win by like 2 or something like that. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be a low scoring game, but I think that the Packers can be able to pull it out.
Now we have Bears at Colts. Who do you have in this one? I know who I'm taking in this one actually.
I am really conflicted because obviously like I'm interested to see how Caleb is going to do against a suspect Colts defense. I know that Anthony Richardson is going to throw at least 2 picks, probably so. So I'm going to go Bears, but I'm not as confident as I am in some of the other picks. I just think that Anthony Richardson, as much as his like athletic feats are showing, he's not showing like a real either like grasp of this offense. He's throwing too many interceptions. It's more so just like uh, hope and a prayer that it's gonna go his way. I mean, like the first week of 9 or 19, then obviously you look at like the big plays, and then this week, those two picks are costly. I think it's going to happen in this Bears game. I think the Bears, because they have a really good defense, and I think they're going to be able to hopefully rely on a run game that's been so-so. Not try to ask Caleb to do too much. If they do that, then I think that the Bears should win this game.
I'm actually going to take the Bears too,
Ah,
because I think they have a really good run defense. Their defense is really good.
yes.
And the Colts, I just don't think are going to be able to move the ball consistently with Richardson. Also, Colts have a disastrous run defense. Um, and so I do think that the Bears will be able to lean a little bit on their run game. Hopefully, kind of like let hold the linebackers and a little defense at bay a little bit with some play action stuff. I think it's going to be low scoring, but I think the Bears defense is going to actually get it done in this game, and the Bears will get their second win of the season, and Colts will be 0-3. I mean, I'm rooting
Yes.
for this because I'm a Texans fan, but also
Yeah.
I just do think that I don't know. The Bears defense looked really good,
Because did you say
and
DeVorce Buckner was on
yeah, Buckner
IR
just got
or
put on IR like
yeah? So
10 minutes before we recorded,
that's
so
another
that's going to make
blow.
it even worse. And now that's like also like their best pass rusher. So I don't know. It might be a little difficult for the Colts to really run the ball here. And then now we got Texans at Vikings. Really good,
Oof. Yeah.
really good morning, not morning game, noon game. Um, so I'm obviously a Texans fan. I don't want to pick the Texans, but I'm going to. I know this is going to be a tough game with Brian Flores' defense. Our offensive line has not looked great through the first two games, but I think our defense is good. I think we'll be able to get pressure, and I think CJ Stroud's going to make enough plays, and so I think we're going to start out 3-0 because like I don't know if Mixon's playing this week. He obviously came back into the game, but they listed him as like questionable this upcoming week. I think he'll end up playing, but I think this is going to kind of be the game for our playmakers. Um, like like obviously Nico's been good, but now you can get Diggs and Tank going a little bit because the secondary for this Vikings team is the
It's not
weakness.
good. Yeah.
So like I think that's the part where we're just going to air it out over and over. So that's what I'm hoping for. And this Viking team's good, and they're probably going to score on us because our secondary is not amazing either. But I trust CJ Stroud more than I trust Sam Darnold. So
I agree. So far we're just like last week. We're agreeing on everything. I
which means it's
think
going to be
that
all upsets.
yes. So I do agree with you. Like if your offensive line is able to protect, you'll probably have Schultz kind of helping out, um, especially on your right side because like I said, like the Vikings edgers are really stinking good. And they have like a lot of blitz packages as well that kind of confuse your offensive line. So there's probably a lot more 6-man protections, maybe even 7-man protections with your with the fact that you have really good wide receivers who hopefully can get open on, like I said, a suspect secondary. I think it's going to be a close game. I think CG is probably going to make a couple mistakes, and it's going to keep the Vikings in the game. But I think ultimately the Texans will be able to pull it out.
Stroud doesn't make
Like I said,
mistakes, man. Don't put that evil
he
on me.
hasn't. He hasn't. He hasn't so far. But like I said, this is one of those defenses that's going to confuse a lot of people. Like obviously, like last week, from Bobby Slovic coming from like also for Shanahan's style offense. I think that not they're not going to do it like identical because no one runs the same as like offense, but like in that same kind of vein, like it's gonna cause some problems for Bobby Slovic's offense. I don't think anyone who thinks that they're going to go over 30, I don't think they're going to be able doing that. I think it's going to be like a 24-21 kind of game. Fairburn, kicks the game winner, something like that.
Okay, and then we got Eagles at Saints. Eagles coming off that
Oof.
disastrous Monday night game where they kind of just threw the ball or threw the game away, metaphorically and actually. Um, who do you have in this game? This is actually an interesting game
I
with how
know,
the
dude.
Saints have
Okay,
looked.
I'm so confused because part of me wants to go Eagles. So I'm like, I think that defensive line is going to really challenge that Saints offensive line, who's been dominating. But then again, they dominate against the Panthers defensive line, and then also um the Cowboys defensive line, who's not necessarily their strong suit. Obviously, you talk about like Michael Parsons, but we've seen time and time again that like if you scheme strictly for Micah Parsons, you're going to be able to just obliterate their defense. I'm going to go with the Eagles. I'm I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I think both these offenses have the capabilities of doing so. Obviously, not having AJ Brown definitely hurt the uh it definitely hurt the Eagles, but I'm hoping that Saquon has a pretty decent game. Um, I'm interested to see how Devontae Smith's going to do because I think the Saints have a really good secondary, so they're definitely going to try to double them up. So part of me is wondering if the Saints are going to come down because obviously they're on high right now. I mean, scoring second most points in the first 2 weeks and like fourth most points in the first two games. I don't know if they can keep it up. I was so skeptical because I don't know, just being a Panthers fan, you're kind of skeptical like with the Saints. I think they're still a good team. I don't think they're a pretender, but I'm very, very interested to see what they're going to do against this Eagles defense that really and truthfully, it was bad scheming that last drive that kind of led up that game winner.
I'm going to take the Saints because I'm a believer. Who dat? And then that's what I'm going. I'm riding with the Saints. I think this offense is going to score, and until I see them come down, I'm going to keep picking them. Derek Carr MVP in the year of our Lord 2024. Who would have thought?
Okay.
We have Chargers at Steelers. Um,
Ooh,
I hate this because this game is going to be so boring. This is going to be
so boring.
field goals and field goals and field goals. Now, I'm going to take the team that I think has the better defense, and I'm going to take the Steelers. I think both these teams are going to do the same thing. They're both just going to run the ball.
Yes.
And they're going to try and play defense, but I think the Chargers are going to be better long term. I think the Steelers are better right now, and I'm going to take them in a I don't know, like a 13-10 game. I'm going to take this, actually 12. I'm going to say 12-10 because it's going to be 12-9,
goals.
all field goals.
All field goals. Okay.
Steelers win.
I can see that. I'm going to go with the Steelers as well, mainly because like I think that the Steelers defense is going to be opportunistic enough that they're going to be able to, actually like pull through. But to me, obviously, I think the Chargers have a better offense than the Steelers, so I'm kind of conflicted in that way, mainly because like I think the Chargers defense has the potential to like really frustrate Justin Fields. So like again, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go low scoring game, like just like you said. I think that Boswell again is gonna have another great game. I'm gonna go with Steelers, but I'm not as confident because like I said, it's gonna be a very boring game. I would not want to watch it. I would not want to be forced to watch.
I'll watch Red Zone. I'm gonna next. Our final noon game is Broncos at Bucks. Obviously Baker's looked really well this first couple weeks. I'll take this one so you can have first go on the next game we have because that's your team. I'm gonna take the Bucks in this one because the Broncos, Bo Nix hasn't looked that great. The offense hasn't looked that great. I think against a Todd Bowles defense that's just going to blitz the crap out of him. He's going to get confused. He's going to throw a couple picks. And this Bucks team looks really good. I mean, Chris Godwin is looking really good right now. And this is his passing attack. Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr are playing like the best two quarterbacks in the league right now, which is wild.
Awful for me too.
It's wild. But so I'm gonna take the Bucks to win. That would be they're 3-0 too because they beat the Lions last week. This AFC NFC South actually looks like a pretty good division outside of the Panthers.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's just fabulous. I'm also going to take the Buccaneers.
Don't worry, you guys have the brightest future. You have a number one pick at quarterback, man.
Yeah. We're we're on our way. We're on our way. Down to the bottom. So I'm going to take the Bucks.
Can't really be on the way there. You're already there.
I know. We're gonna somehow sink even lower.
Get relegated.
It could be the first one. So I'm taking the Bucks obviously because I think Baker's been playing really good. I agree with Todd Bowles' defense. It is interesting too. Like outside of CJ Stroud, against quarterbacks really struggle against Todd Bowles' defense. So I think it's going to continue. I do think the injuries are a little bit of a concern for the Buccaneers, like especially like longer term. Hopefully, they can get some of the people back. They didn't have Vita Vea, didn't have Can't See in the Lions game, but still were able to pull it out. So because of that, I'm going to take the Bucks. I think they're the hot hand right now. Broncos. There's a lot of fans very questioning the decision making by Sean Payton. I think it's going to continue, and also it's there's a couple of things that I'm happy about with this season. That's mainly because Sean Payton is not succeeding. So that's also lovely to see.
Yeah, I hate Sean Payton. But next, we have our first game of the 3 o'clock slate, or 4 o'clock, I guess, depending on your time. Panthers at Raiders. This is your team. Big news: Bryce benched. This is a nail biter, man. Who you got?
This is Andy Dalton. So I'm interested to see what our offense is going to look like without Bryce. Um, Mainly because like it just seemed like his confidence was gone. So we're hoping that over the next two games you got Raiders and you got Bengals, which are two really tough defenses that you're going to go against. Hopefully, we can kind of stay as somewhat afloat, maybe some kind of improvement. I'm not completely out in the season just yet because initially I'd already said that we are going to have a slow start. I got the Raiders winning this one because just like the fact that their defense is so much better than our offense could possibly be. I do think that there's potential it could be close because I'm not the biggest fan of the Raiders offense. I think that Gardner Minshew can manage a game well. I think Devontae Adams probably have a pretty decent day, depending on which JC Horn shows up because you'd never know. Um, Especially this past game that was awful. So I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I think they'll probably win by 6. Hopefully it's a close game. I don't know if I can take another blowout. That's going to be embarrassing. So Raiders win.
I am gonna take the Raiders as well. Honestly, this is what I'm hoping for. For your sake, I hope that your offense absolutely sucks
Yes.
because then that means it's not just Bryce. If yours offense looks actually pretty competent, then that means it's Jover. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping that your offense looks absolutely terrible, and it's like, oh, okay, so like maybe there's still some hope for Bryce. Um, that's all I'm really looking for in this game is that does how does y'all's offense look? I know y'all's defense is going to be bad, and I know the Raiders defense is going to be good, and the Raiders defense offense is going to be mid. But I just want to kind of see what y'all's offense looks like. That's kind of the story for this game. But I'm taking the Raiders just like you. Until the Panthers win a game, I'm not going to pick them to win a game.
I'm not going to pick them either, unfortunately.
Uh, Next game we have is Dolphins at Seahawks. Obviously, big storyline. Tua just got to put on IR. They're rolling with Skylar Thompson. Not a good recipe. No, I've seen enough of Skylar Thompson to know he's not a good quarterback against a good Seahawks defense, a good Seahawks secondary, especially Tariq
Exactly.
Woolen
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, who's the guy they took top 10? Oh my
You
gosh,
talking
I'm
about
on the
Devon
right.
Witherspoon?
Witherspoon. They got Woolen, Witherspoon. They got a solid defensive line. This is not going to be a good matchup for Skylar Thompson. They might just kind of just feed Achan, just like screens and running the ball,
And
which
hope and pray.
yeah, and hoping to like throw some like short passes to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Hope they can get deep and stuff. But I don't expect a lot. The Seahawks, I think Kenneth Walker's going to be back.
I think
And
so.
that helps. But also Geno Smith's playing good football. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be taking the Seahawks to win this game. I'm not going to pick the Dolphins to win until Tua comes back, if Tua comes back.
Yeah. I'm also going to Seahawks, but I think it's going to be a lot bigger of a margin, mainly because of the fact I think that the Seahawks are going to be able to run the ball against this Dolphins defense. That I think there's definitely good pieces, but like as an overall defense, I'm still not fully on board yet. Obviously, not having Tua that kind of takes away some of the dangerous aspects of your offense because yes, you have dangerous weapons, but you have to get them. You have to get the ball to them weapons. So I'm actually gonna think that the Seahawks win by 13. I think it's gonna be like the Seahawks pull away in the fourth quarter, and Skylar Thompson just looks absolutely horrible. So I got the Seahawks.
I'm just hoping for a big Kenneth Walker day
Yeah,
for fantasy. Now we have Ravens at Cowboys.
yeah. Ooh.
Ravens winless so
Mm-hmm.
far. Do they change that streak, Ryan?
I'm gonna say they do. They've been in pretty much every single game. Obviously, the Chiefs game they had to come back in. and that's unfortunate with the Raiders game. But you're still going against two um, really good defenses at least. I still think that their offensive line is what's really concerning for me, especially that right side against Micah Parsons. So I'm interested to see what Todd Monk is going to do to kind of like minimize his impact. But at the same time, like the Cowboys, their defense is going to be looking out for blood because they're like, we got embarrassed on national television. I think it's going to be a back and forth game. I'm hoping the Raiders pull it out. The Ravens pull it out because I don't want them to start 0-3. So it's also part of the reason why I'm going to the Ravens because like I think that's for the Cowboys not to beat a good team. They don't beat a good team, and the Ravens actually don't go 0-3. So that's where I'm going to go with it. But I think it's going to be a toss up.
This is the hardest game for me to pick so far. Because it's like Cowboys, I feel like they're going to bounce back after getting embarrassed. Ravens, I just don't see them going 0-3.
Exactly.
But I'm going to take the Ravens in a close game in Jerry's world because I don't love the Cowboys' run defense. I like the Ravens' defense. I do like the Cowboys' secondary, but honestly, the
Mhm.
Ravens are going to try and run the ball. I don't think either of these teams are going to be Super Bowl contenders this year. Um, but I'm going to take the Ravens in a close game. Maybe it's like 24, like 21 or something like that. And then we have, not, goodness gracious, Niners at Rams. Man, the Rams have been hit by the injury bug
Yeah, they have.
already. Puka and
So I
Cup
mean,
both on
so
IR.
so have the Niners too. The Niners
Yeah,
also,
Niners
yeah,
lost Debo.
Chris
Lost some other play.
McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey, obviously. The Rams also lost their starting center, I believe.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna take both of these teams are gonna be are riddled with injuries, but I'm gonna take the one that at least has some weapons left in the 49ers. Where they still have Brendan Ayuk, they still have George Kittle. Mason can still run the ball a little bit. This Rams defense got ran over last week by the Cardinals, who I think are a sneaky team.
They also got ran
But
over in week one too.
yeah, it's just not. This run defense doesn't look very good. The Niners, I think, are going to lean on the run game a little bit with all these weapons out. So I'm going to take the Niners close. I don't know. The Rams, McVay will figure out to at least be an average offensive team, I believe.
Yeah,
Still have Kyron Williams. I think the offensive line is still solid. Matthew Stafford hasn't looked amazing so far, but I think he'll figure it out. So I think the Rams will still figure out a way to be a solid team. It's just I don't know. I have too many in like if they had Cup and Puka, this offense goes from like being maybe top 5, top 6 potential. Now it's like, oh, they're fighting to be like a league average offense. So I'm taking
yeah.
the 49ers.
I'm taking the 49ers as well. It's it's so hard to pick against Shanahan too because like Shanahan versus McVay is always like an interesting battle. But when you don't have your top two weapons on offense, Stafford's still like like you're losing some of your offensive line as well. I I'm very very cautious against this Rams team. I'm hoping they're not going to continue to have this injury bug. Hopefully, they get some players back eventually. But for the time being, I agree. I think that Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle is at least going to get them some kind of weapons down the field, and you're just hoping and praying that your offensive line can at least hold up for the 49ers because outside of Trent Williams, I'm not the biggest fan of the 49ers off front line, but if you're able to at least establish a run game, I feel pretty confident that Brock Purdy can still dish it out to your weapons. You still got Jawan Jennings. You still got, like I said, Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. I think it's going to be a close one. I'm going to say I want to say like a 27-24. I think they're still going to be able to score points, mainly because that's kind of how these games usually go. Even without players out, I think that like a Tyler Johnson or something like that is going to be able to come through for the Rams like he did um, last week. So I'm gonna go with the 49ers, but I think it's going to be like a field goal to like 4 point kind of game.
Yeah. Lions, this is our final afternoon slate game.
Mhm.
Lions at Cardinals. This is a sneaky game.
I
Who do you
know.
have?
Dude. Okay. The Lions were my Super Bowl pick, but the Cardinals are a very scrappy team. I'm hoping the Lions bounce back. So I'm gonna take the Lions, but I am Ooh. In the reason why I'm taking the Lions is because they lost. They know they lost. They probably should have won that game. And so this is supposed to be their year. They can't have another one of these losses, especially with, if the Packers can stay 500 without Jordan Love. Can you imagine what they can do with Jordan Love? So, in my opinion, I think that the Lions going to bounce back. I think it's going to be a very close game. I'm interested to see how the Lions secondary is going to do against uh, Marvin Harrison Jr. If Kyler can keep up this success that he's had so far this season, to the start of the season. I'm also wondering too if like maybe the Cardinals of Week 1 with no pass rush is their identity, and not Week 2 where they're able to just kind of like run it through because the Rams' offensive line is absolutely trash. So that's why I'm going to go with the Lions. I think they're going to be able to run the ball against the
At least the
Cardinals.
Rams tackles are trash.
Yeah, the Rams tackles are trash, and the Lions tackles are amazing. So that's kind of what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with the Lions. I think it's going to be a very good game to watch. I think it's going to be a close game, but the Lions.
Yeah, I'm taking the Lions too to bounce back. I just think there's a mismatch this offensive line versus defensive line. I think the Cardinals are actually going to be in this game. I think their strengths actually kind of line up against some of the Lions' like weaknesses on defense. I think Marvin Harrison's going to be able to score or get deep. Trey McBride can have it. He had a touchdown last week, but it was like he jumped on the ball in the end zone. Like I think Trey McBride might get going a little bit. James Conner's run the ball really well. Obviously, Kyler's always a problem. But the Lions, I just feel like are going to be able to run the ball at will here, and just have a mismatch against this defensive line that still has a lot of problems. But the good thing is, hey, there's a good defensive line class, so they'll be able to fix some problems there. But I like this Cardinals team. I just still think they're a little bit away. But hey, Jonathan Gannon, coach of the year potentially. Hey, I don't know. He's looking.
It's really surprising.
He's a good team. Now we have our Sunday night football game.
Yes.
Falcons on back-to-back prime times. We get Chiefs at Falcons. Chiefs are pretty much always on prime time, so that's not surprising.
Yeah.
Chiefs obviously 2-0. They beat the Ravens and they've beaten the Bengals. I think this is kind of an easier matchup, especially for their defense. They don't have to worry about some elite quarterback. Kirk Cousins has looked not great outside of like 2 drives. So I think this Chiefs defense is going to kind of key off. They know Kirk Cousins can't move. They'll probably. I think Bijan's going to do his thing, but I think the Chiefs will do. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I don't think the Chiefs are really going to blow out any teams. Just the way that they're kind of built offensively is they're going to kind of dink and dunk, run the ball. But I think this will be a close-ish game. I think it's just going to be a grind game. Each team just has possession for a while. But I think the Chiefs will win, and I think they'll win by a touchdown.
I agree. I think the Chiefs are going to win, but I think it's going to really come down to Chris Jones. I'm interested to see how Chris Jones does against a Falcons offensive line that, especially up front, Chris Lindstrom, for as much praise he gets, sometimes he really struggles against like really good power rushers. Against the Eagles, he was struggling against Jordan Davis. He was struggling against Jalen Carter. I think he's going to struggle against Chris Jones. So I'm interested to see how the collapsing pocket. Obviously, the Chiefs have really good pass rushers, really young pass rushers. So if they're able to put pressure on Kirk, I think because he can't move, I think he's going to fold, and I think the Chiefs are going to win. But I do, like I said, I'm interested to see how their offense is going to work because not having Pacheco, kind of relying on Carson Steele, maybe that might still work. I mean,
just like Kareem
Falcons,
Hunt.
It's not Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt.
That still doesn't move the needle too much for me because we haven't seen that much from Kareem Hunt in 4 years.
You don't know ball.
So
you don't know
yeah,
ball. He's got strong legs, man.
Yeah, he does.
He
yeah. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. But I do think it's a big close game.
And then now this week we have a double header on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they normally did this later in the season, but
I think they did it at week 5 last year. Okay. They did it early. They did it early last year too, and I was surprised by it. But yeah.
But doubleheader on Monday night. We got Jags at Bills is the 7:30 kick or 6:30 kickoff. Oh, you take first on this one. Sorry, and then
Okay.
give a score. We'll give a score prediction for both of these.
Yeah, both these
Because
Monday
it's
night
two
games.
Monday night games.
Oh, dude. Okay, so every single time the Jaguars play the Bills, they always play them good. So I think it's gonna be a close game. I'm just not high on Jacksonville this year, and from what they've shown me these past 2 weeks, I feel pretty confident that they're going to sink deeper and deeper into this abyss of just like we need to find something different. And like I said at the beginning of the year, I said Trent Baalke and Dougie Pearson are going to be gone. They haven't done anything to kind of prove me wrong. Like I said, I think that the Jaguars pass rush might be able to get to Josh Allen, but at the same time, I just feel like the Bills are going to be on a little bit. They had that break. They played on Thursday. They had that break as well. They're going to be fresher in their home stadium. I'm going to go with the Bills, and I'm going to go. No, I'm not going to do 30. I'm going to do 27 to 17.
Okay. The Jags always play the Bills close, but this is in Buffalo. I think the Bills look really good this year. I like how their offense is playing. It's very balanced. They're not asking Josh Allen to do hero ball. Now, I think the Jags have a solid defense,
Hmm.
but I do think the Bills are going to win. I think the Bills are just going to keep running the ball. They have enough like solid playmakers. I think they have a good defense. So I'm going to take the Bills to win. I think it's going to be 26 to 20 Bills. So I don't think it'll be a closer game because it's always close. But if things stand how I have it right now, that would mean the Texans would be 3-0, and all
Yep.
the other teams in the division would be 0-3. So that's all I'm saying.
Which is still wild.
Watch out, the Texans could clinch the division by week 10.
That'd be crazy.
But then our final primetime game is I've come around on this one a little bit. I don't think it's as bad because I'm like, oh, we get to see Jaden Daniels on primetime against a good defense. We have
Yeah.
Commanders versus Bengals. The mismatch, though, honestly, I think this game could be pretty close because the Bengals do not have a good run defense, and the Commanders want to run the ball. Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, obviously Jaden Daniels can run it himself. So they're going to probably run the ball a little bit. Now, I don't think they're going to be a great passing offense. I hate the way that Cliff Kingsbury runs an offense. It's absolutely terrible. But the Bengals obviously haven't looked that amazing to me to where I'm like, oh, they're just going to blow out this team. Now, this Washington defense isn't amazing either, but
It's
I think
patchwork.
I think the Commanders will be able to run the ball. I think Jaden Daniels will make some scramble plays, keep them in this game. But I have the Bengals winning 28 to 22.
So I agree. I think that the Bengals run defense was something that I was hoping that because they drafted two rookies who I felt were pretty good against the run, that it would at least somewhat suffice. But it has been disastrous. So you're kind of hoping that hopefully they can kind of shape up. Hopefully it's just like, oh, it's just the Bengals, weeks, the early weeks. I'm thinking they'll bounce back. Like it's the same as I think that I feel with the Ravens. It's so hard for me to even imagine the Bengals are going to go start 0-3. So I'm going to take them to win. I think that hopefully Jamar Chase finally heats up and he's going to embarrass Emmanuel Forbes. That would just be icing on the cake. So I'm going to go with the Bengals winning. I have them winning 27-23. I think that because the
Those
Commanders are going to be able to run the ball, I think they'll be able to get into red zone. But I think Lou Anarumo is going to keep them from scoring a touchdown. They have to kick field goals. So, I mean, they kicked 6 field goals last time. Well, 7 field goals, and they won the game. So I think they're going to be able to keep themselves in it because they're actually going to take the point, something that the Eagles should have done. And so I'm going to go 27-23.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. This is a solid slate of week 3 games. Not the greatest primetime games in the world, but sometimes you don't get that. I think it's a solid like Sunday afternoon and noon slate. But I think this is kind of the week where you really can kind of tell which teams are legit, which teams aren't. Obviously, things can change in the coming weeks, but I think if you have a team that's struggling now, but you're like, no, they'll be fine. and like they still struggle week by week 3, it's kind of like, okay, maybe they just aren't that good.
Let's not forget that a couple years ago, the Broncos and the Panthers are both 3-0, and then finished the season with top 10 picks.
Yeah, it's like I think week 3 and like week 4, kind of like the weeks where you really are just like, okay, you can kind of tell, like if the Saints do it again and they go off for like 35, 38 points, then you're maybe like,
It's gonna be
okay,
hard.
it's
It's gonna
like
be hard not to
maybe
pick them.
they're all legit. Maybe Derek Carr could win MVP, and but I don't expect that to happen. But I'm just saying, week 3 is like week 3 and week 4 is kind of where you're going to start seeing some of you see the pretenders versus the actual contenders, which will be interesting and fun to see. But that's been week 3 of Gridiron Gurus. This one should be up. I don't think there should be any technical difficulties here. You were fine with your camera. I think I have my problem fixed with the recordings, so it should come out fine. But thank you all for listening and have a good one. Bye.
Bye.